Namaste, Hari Om, Pranam. I will do a brief introduction of Dr. Tony Nader, who is called Raja Ramji by Pujyapad Mahesh Yogi Ji Maharaj. And I would request Dr. Tony Nader to take a stage, please. Dr. Tony Nader is a medical doctor trained at Harvard University and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, PhD in brain and cognitive science. Please welcome him with a big applause. A globally recognized expert in the science of consciousness and human development, he is the successor to Maharishi Mahesh Yogi Ji and the head of the Transcendental Meditation organizations globally. His research has been published in peer-reviewed journals and presented at many academic and governmental institutions worldwide. With his podcast, Consciousness is All There Is, an online discussion with leading thinkers, Dr. Nader is expanding the understanding of consciousness, physiology, and the development of full human potential. Let's welcome Dr. Tony Nader at HMEC 2024. And I would like to request our President, Dr. Ajay Shahji, to honor him with the garland and the shawl from Vishwa Hindu Parishad of America. The moment has come. We all are eagerly waiting. I don't want to stand in between you and Dr. Nader. I will hand over the mic to him.
Thank you, Dhanyavad. I will go to the podium so we can see the slides together, if it's okay. Om Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Taptulyam Rama Nama Varanane. Namaste. Pranam to all the great leaders of knowledge assembled here, and congratulations on this initiative to bring true Sanatan Dharma not only to our dear Indian diaspora and in the whole world, but also to the whole world population. Because this knowledge is a knowledge of natural law. Sanatan, invincible, venerable, eternal, unbounded law, dharma. That is also a science of life. Of course, when there is knowledge that is effective and efficient, there are people who don't want to waste time on trying to understand how it works and why it works. And they adapt it and adopt it based on their hearts, their feelings, their tradition, which is what we call faith. But it doesn't mean that this knowledge is based only on some aspect of belief, which doesn't have foundation in the true reality of life and living. Sanatan Dharma is a beautiful term, because it's really talking about the laws of life, the laws of nature. On one hand, we can call it the will of God from a spiritual perspective. And on another hand, from a scientific perspective, we can call it the laws of nature, which are really the same thing. There is, on one hand, a subjective approach, which means an approach that comes from the inward experience, from the inner feeling, the highest level of awareness and consciousness. And there is an objective approach in understanding the laws of nature. And the objective approach comes from experimentation, from study of the laws, how they work, forces of gravity, force of electromagnetism, how the universe works, with keeping the individual outside of the equation. Whereas the subjective approach, it puts the individual at the heart of the equation, at the heart of the research, the science, the understanding, and allows us to see that it's possible from our consciousness to understand what the laws of nature are. And this is what the rishis have done. The ancient rishis have looked deep within in their own field of pure existence, pure consciousness, Atma, the self, and have experienced the reverberations of the laws of nature vibrating within themselves and appearing as this entire universe, and have expressed this in terms of Veda. So Veda is, of course, a beautiful, inspiring philosophy. Some of the people call it also a poetry or teachings of behavior or dharma or different kinds of things. But it's fundamentally the actual laws of nature and how they manifest as they reverberate. And the experience within consciousness of the rishis is described, is transduced, is expressed in terms of the sounds of the Veda. So the sounds of the Veda are themselves just the laws of nature. And in Manu Smriti, we know that very clearly, where it says, Veda akilo dharma mulam. Dharma is founded in Veda, is established in Veda. And I was very fortunate, most fortunate, to be able to learn from His Holiness Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who is from, of course, the Vedic tradition, who has followed from his master was the Shankaracharya of Jyotirmat, Swami Brahmananda Saraswati, Jagat Guru. And he brought to light the knowledge of Veda from a scientific perspective, where faith and belief, the subjective value, the personal, intimate value, and the objective outer values actually meet completely and are in tune with each other. And this is what happens if you look at ultimate reality from a subjective perspective, as we see it in the Veda, that ultimate reality is a field of consciousness. That is what the supreme final conclusion of the Vedas that we have in Vedanta, Veda Anta, the end of Veda, but not the end of, in the sense of finishing, but in the end, in the terms of completeness of knowledge, the total knowledge, which means having gone through all possible investigation and understanding what is the final story about reality and where we are and who we are and where we're going. And that is in Vedanta. And Advaita Vedanta simply means consciousness is all there is. That's why the book that I have written recently, inspired and guided by Maharishi, it's called Consciousness is All There Is. That is in English, that is in an objective way of talking, but its own meaning is Advaita Vedanta. And that it explains how actually from one field of infinite pure existence, pure consciousness, emerges the entire universe. And we need to do that. We are talking about our youth who are looking for proof, who are looking for logic, who are looking for reasons why these things happen, why those characters maybe in the Ramayana or in the Mahabharata that are unusual, that we don't see them in our daily life, why they can be real, how they can be understood, how the Vedas, which has so many branches, actually make something logical and something that is coherent. And this is where we have a paradigm, an understanding. As we see in this chart, on the right side of the chart, it shows the physiology, human physiology, or a society, and then an individual. And then modern science, this is a modern science kind of chart on the right side. And it shows that we are all made out of course, organs, and organs are made out of tissues. Tissues are made out of cells, and cells are made out of molecules, and molecules are made out of atoms, and then particles, etc. And then you go to a field reality, which is the discovery from modern science that everything is based on a field. At the beginning, they were thinking of different kinds of fields. There is the electromagnetic field, there is the gravitational field, there is the weak force, strong force. And then as they kept looking into the nature of reality, scientists are now postulating one field, which is called the unified field of all the laws of nature, that is one entity, one reality that appears as the differences on the surface. So all that we see as differences in the universe is based on one field, the unified field of all the laws of nature. What we can call this is ultimate objectivity, which means when science looks in an objective way at what is making the whole universe and went deeper and deeper and deeper into what is the constituent, what is the ultimate substance, they came to a unified field. That is exactly what Veda says. It says that ultimately there is one Atma, one field of being, which is a source of everything. And transcendental meditation is a technique which we see on the left side that allows our mind to settle down to a state of being which we call pure consciousness, where we transcend all surface values, which means we go beyond the activity of the mind. It's like an ocean with the waves on the surface. And as you dive deep within, you go to a state of more and more inner quiet, more and more inner silence, until you transcend and you reach a state of pure being where you are aware, you're conscious, but there is no content in consciousness. And that is a field of pure being, pure consciousness. And from this field emerges the entire creation, the entire manifestation. Now, this emerges as vibrations of the field, because this field is a field of consciousness. And that field of consciousness looks at itself, reverberates within itself, Nivartadwam goes back to itself, and from that, it creates all the realities that are on the surface level, all the manifest energy that creates the universe comes from the reverberations of this field. This has to be explained logically, philosophically, scientifically, and this is what I propose to you, and I hope you will take time to look at this reality through this book, through this publication, Consciousness is All There Is, to see how is it possible that one field appears as many and appears as the universe. Because this is the one gap that is missing. And that gap is, for the philosophers and the scientists, how can something non-physical, non-material appear as the entire physical universe? We know in the Veda that it says Maya is the key, and Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says it's through my Maya that I create, that things happen again and again. But even the understanding of Maya is not complete, because when we say Maya is an illusion, people accuse us of saying that all of this, what we're doing now, all our reality, all our suffering and pains and joys and happiness, all that we work with on the surface is an illusion. But that is a misunderstanding of the true nature of Maya. The true nature of Maya is the hiding of the absolute, so that the absolute can experience from limited perspectives. What does this mean? It's a big philosophical question, but that is truly the essence of manifestation and why manifestation happens. So there is a logic that accepts the reality and the realism of the universe, of the world, of what we are doing on a very solid basis, and yet say that our misunderstanding that we are isolated from the ocean of being has to be removed. That is the Maya. The Maya is to feel I am different from pure consciousness. The Maya is for the wave to say I am different from the ocean. And therefore, I can see only that much. I'm sitting on the surface of the ocean. I'm seeing one wave because my vision is small, and that's all that there is. And there are other waves, and they are different from me, and we are different. We have to fight, maybe we have to kill each other, as we see when a misunderstanding of the unity of life is happening in our world. So there are very important pragmatic and practical conclusions that we can take that will help us on an objective and subjective level to understand the reality of life. So when the individual's perception expands, then the individual's perception see that I am the ocean truly, only appearing as a wave in this particular way. And that, my friend, there is also the ocean, but appearing as another wave. But we are all the ocean. We are all the same Atma. When I'm often asked, when I see this, when she sees this, when he sees this, I say, it's not he, she, or him, or her. It's the Atma seeing through this particular perspective, which is an individual perspective. And the Atma wants to see in all possible perspectives because its nature is consciousness. And to be conscious means to know, to experience. And it wants to experience in an infinite number of ways. And those number of ways that it experiences are you and me and everyone and the cat and the dog. Now we know why the cat and the dog are also Atma, and not only the cat and the dog, but also the tree and the flower and the mountain. They are all different levels of expressions of the same one unbounded ocean of consciousness appearing in multiple ways. And when it appears in multiple ways, it creates different dimensions, different interactions, different dynamics. And those dynamics are the laws of nature. Those specific dynamics are the laws of nature that construct and manage the entire universe. And those laws, sometimes they can appear different one from the other. You have the sun that maybe nourishes, but it also heats. You have the wind that moves things, but it also dries. You have the water that brings sustenance, but can also, if excessive, can make the plant rot. So for the plant to grow, you have to have a balance between enough water, but not too much. Enough sun, but not too much. It might burn it. Enough wind, but not too much, because it can blow it away. And so even though on the surface level, some aspects of the Vedic literature might appear even contradictory or different on the surface level, but Maharishi Mahesh Yogi said, they are all the laws of nature, and we can see them in an integrated way that gives them the ability together to manifest as differences and multiplicity for the Atma to enjoy itself in different forms. And having gone through that perspective, then it becomes Brahman. I am Atma Brahm. This Atma is totality, is wholeness, and it becomes totality and wholeness when it goes through the field of manifestation, through the field of appearance. And so we have, maybe you can help me. So this is the book on Consciousness is All There Is, which I certainly would want to discuss with you. And here is just an illustration from the book. And it says, it quotes Yoga Vasishta, which says, even as from the waking state there is no materiality in the objects seen in a dream, this world appears to be material, not yet in reality it is pure consciousness. So even though like in a dream you imagine that the tiger is real, in fact, in reality, in the physical waking state, you think that you are different from the infinite reality, but actually you are one and the same. This is another illustration in the book which shows how pure consciousness on the lower part of the diagram, reflecting on itself, sees infinite number of possibilities and then manifests on the upper side of the diagram as what we call manifestation. And it shows the process of manifestation, why we are here. The purpose of life is the expansion of consciousness. The purpose of life is the expansion of happiness, the expansion of bliss. And it starts from small perspectives in an atom, in the molecule, in a tree, and it grows in bigger perspectives. So it's the same Atma taking that journey through us, through the manifestation. And when we say Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, it's not just a nice feeling, a nice hope, let's hope like that, let's think like that because it helps the world and we are better with our neighbor, which is okay. But the real meaning is that we are one. That is what a family is. We are all one. And we can explain this scientifically today. We can look at it from a profound perspective, which is objective, which is scientifically verifiable. And this is the beauty of the Vedic tradition. This is another illustration from the book. And these are kids looking at the cloud. And every kid, because of their consciousness is still limited, they think that the things that are in the cloud are real and different. One says this is a dragon, they sees a cattle, and then the other person sees, wow, there is a horse in the cloud. And the person who knows more, he says, these are all part of one cloud appearing to be many things. We are all part of one reality, the self, the Atma. We appear as different for the joy of that self to be able to experience differences and for the joy of growing in consciousness and ultimately reaching unity consciousness where we realize that is what is called enlightenment. That is what we realize, what we call liberation. We are liberated from the boundaries of thinking we are only the small self and come to realization that we are the infinite self. And when we have done that, we come to I am Atma Brahm, I am wholeness, I am totality. And this is not just part of some nice holistic kind of philosophical thinking. When people practice the transcending and go back to being themselves, they change society. They change themselves. We have hundreds and hundreds of scientific research studies that show how from transcending, from going deep within, our health is better, our behavior is better, our intelligence grows, our creativity and productivity improve, even on the surface level. Why? Because you are drawing from that field of infinite creativity, infinite possibilities. That is the field of Atma, the field of the self. And these are some of the studies that are on a global level, on the level of analysis of how a few individuals more than 17 years of follow-up. And it shows that when a group of people large enough practice these advanced techniques of Transcendental Meditation and the TM Siddhi program comes from the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. And when they do this together, if the number reaches a certain critical point, then what we have found that exactly there is a transformation and a reduction in murder, rape, assault, robbery, infant mortality, vehicle fatalities, child injury deaths, drug deaths, different things that are negative but independent from each other, accidents of the road, hospital admission, reduced because there is enough people that practice this transcending. And that is the very practical level of this knowledge. It's not just some nice theory. It's something that can change the world. It's actually the only thing that can change the world today. The world looking only on a surface level, on the physical, material level. Then if everything is physical and material, why can't we grab what we can? Why can't we kill when we want to kill? Why can't we do that? Who cares? Everything is physical after all. But the reality is wrong. This is wrong. The reality is we are all consciousness. And it is on consciousness, on the level of consciousness, that we can transform life and create true shanti, true peace in the environment for ourselves and for others. This is a chart that shows 40 aspects of the Vedic literature that Maharishi has organized as a perfect science of life. And all of them work together. So again, when we think we have different branches of Hinduism, different branches of Sanatana Dharma, different beliefs, and some of them, they seem to be different, or they create a cause for fighting or arguing, we have to realize it's all like the sun, the water, and the wind, all nourishing the roots of the tree in a balanced way, and they are all necessary. Once we know that at the basis there is oneness, there is unity, then diversity is no more threat to well-being and to harmony, because we are all one, enjoying to be different on the surface. Now, if these are truly the laws of nature, how can we try to make it even more realistic? And this is something that I published in a book that is called Veda and Vedic Literature and Human Physiology, that shows that Veda, the sounds of the Veda, and their structure and function are actually the blueprint of our own human physiology. So when we say Aham Brahmasmi, it's not just some nice idea, but we are actually, even physically, our body is built according to the laws of nature. And if Vedas are the laws of nature, Vedas are Dharma. If Vedas are Sanatana Dharma just translated, it means just laws of nature. Laws of nature, invincible, eternal, venerable, powerful law. Gravity is an invincible, powerful, always the same, always equal to itself law. So science, laws of science are all Sanatana Dharma, if we look at them from an objective level. But Sanatana Dharma takes it beyond just some physical laws into life laws, living laws, as we have heard, habits, rituals, things that we do, that all do, that help to nourish and allow us to grow. And now what about those aspects of the Veda that are not easily understandable? Here is in the book a correction, one-to-one between, for example, the body structure and the nerves and the suktas of Rig Veda. This is in the brain. Yoga Sutras, for example, there are 4 chapters, there are 4 lobes in the brain, correspond to our lobe of the brain, correspond to one of the chapters of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. This is not just by structure, but also by structure and function. And every sukta in the Yoga Sutras, they are written now. You can see some Sanskrit written with numbering. They are actually part of the brain and how the brain functions based on those sutras. So these are truly the laws of nature. Somebody will help me with that. And this is true in different parts. There are 40 different aspects, and there are hundreds and hundreds of correlations that are the same. I have to go through. I'm being shown that I have two minutes left. So this is taking some of my time. So even the planets and the stars and Jyotish, you could correlate them to structures inside the brain that perform similar functions as Jyotish describes in the planetary system. the devatas are in our physiology. This is a picture of Sri Ganapati Ji and how its structure even is actually found on the brain. In the left side, you have Ganapati, and on the right side, the brain. And what is highlighted in blue color is just to show the correspondence. The entire Ramayana is a story of the laws of nature and how they manifest in our own human physiology. Please move on the slide, because I'm not able to get it done there. Okay, we missed that. Ram, for example, and Ram's invincible bow and arrows are represented by our vertebral column. And the arrows are the nerves that go out. And when we say Ram's arrow goes, hits the target and comes back, this is really the nerves and the feedback loops that inform us what our actions have led to. And like that, just as examples, all the characters, all the rishis, all the events in the Ramayana are in our human physiology. For example, even here, the mothers of Ram, Ravana, and their brothers and sisters, as described in terms of their relationships and connections and outcomes, they are all in our human physiology. Anyway, I hope you believe me because time has gone. There is a whole book about that. It's called Ramayana and Human Physiology, which shows that the laws of nature actually manifest in our body and in our physiology. They are expressed as physical entities, but they are truly the laws of nature. Vedo akiro dharma mulam. Veda is the foundation of the law of dharma, and that foundation is embodied in our physiology, in our brain, in our nervous system, and therefore we have a solid understanding of, from an objective level, from a subjective level, from a theoretical level, from a practical level, empirical level, and a powerful explanatory power about freedom, determinism, the meaning of life, and how we can make a difference in our life through Veda, through Sanatana Dharma. Thank you for inviting me to be with you. I want to, before you take, I want to pay homage to Sri Devi, no? Please go ahead. Yeah, it's okay.
Namaste. Thank you, Nader Rajaramji, for the beautiful words of Paravani shared with us this morning. We can take only one question for Dr. Naderji. Yes, Deepaji, please.
Namaskaram, sir, Dr. Nader. One question for you. As you know that in the current times, there is a lot of, unrest in the world, right? And Hindus are facing persecution in a lot of places. The extent of research that you have done and the knowledge that you have sort of brought here, summarized it for us, because this is a vast body of knowledge. What do you see your role in the current situation in spreading the message of Sanatana Dharma through your platform?
My role is to follow the guidelines of Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who gave me this role in terms of spreading the knowledge on a scientific level, reassuring and assuring and convincing all the new generation that Sanatana Dharma is a science, that there is a way to explain all these aspects and figures and dynamics that are in the Ramayana, history of the Veda, and all of that. And that the Veda itself is a science of law, a science of laws of nature, and these laws are what creates the universe and what creates us, even on their vibrational level alone. And to understand that consciousness is at the basis of everything, consciousness, Atma, the self, pure being, is the foundation. And there is also a whole book to explain why it is so and how it is so. And not only on a theoretical level, but most importantly, on a practical level. Because it's not only a theory, a science, a well-wishing idea. It's something that is understandable and applicable on a technological level, which means we can use our consciousness, develop our consciousness, and through development of our consciousness, our life becomes better individually. And what is more important in terms of this question is that our collective consciousness, if it settles down, it can settle down the entire environment. And we have a very clear scientific study, 116 different scientific studies showing that when a critical number of people, it's the square root of 1%, if you want the detail, practice this program together, they literally create peace and harmony. And we are working on this now. We are very proud to see that there are great spiritual leaders from India who are joining and are actually creating these large groups. And we inspire all the young people to be having trust from a faith level, but also from a scientific level on this supreme knowledge of law, and that it has a practical application. And you don't have to convince others necessarily. I mean, we have to convince ourselves to practice the technique, but people can be of any walk of life, any belief system, and then if they practice the techniques, they get the results.
Dhanyavad, Dr. Nader ji. Dr. Nader ji will be with us for the day today. He will be also signing the book that is on the sale outside at the booth. So please, in the free time, go to the booth and then help out to spread his message and his Guruji's message in the larger Hindu diaspora. Dhanyavad, Dr. Nader ji.